This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
It is late spring in 1831. 600 miles west of St. Louis, on the trail to Santa Fe, a solitary mounted white man cautiously rides 2 or 3 miles in advance of the trader's wagon caravan, in which he is a leading investor. The landscape presents a dusty expanse of treeless plains. The air is hot enough to make the man feel as if he were standing before an open oven door, and water is nowhere to be found. Squinting in the harsh sunshine, he scans the arid land for signs of verdure that would proclaim the Cimarron River and offer relief from the dehydration that threatens men and livestock alike. At length, the buckskin-clad rider spots a dip in the prairie. It must be the river, or at least a waterhole. He rides closer and is startled when he comes upon several mixed-blood New Mexican traders. Perhaps he has heard tales of these men, called Comancheros. Ever since about 1720, small parties of daring New Mexicans had carried on a precarious, risky trade with the Comanche nation. Having just concluded another trade session with their unpredictable Indian partners, they too are alarmed when they see the stranger on his jaded horse. Unwilling to risk their own lives on behalf of someone they do not know, the Comancheros offer no assistance, but they signal that Comanches are nearby and that the man has no hope of evading the Indians. The white man rides forward. Reaching the edge of the prairie depression, he spots a party of warriors on horseback a half-mile off, and they have seen him, too. The man braces for action, for he has participated in many ugly confrontations with Indians over the past decade. Checking the priming on his flintlock rifle, he glances at the pair of pistols holstered across the pommel of his saddle and steels his nerve. His right hand slips closer to the trigger of his gun, even as he makes signs for peace to the approaching Indians. Perhaps as a terrific sense of peril gathers about him, the man's racing mind brings time to stop for an instant, as happens to some people during moments of extraordinary crisis. Perhaps the man's imagination even involuntarily reviewed the strange and exhilarating years that had passed since he left family and friends to wander the uttermost reaches of North America's little-known Far West. All too quickly, he approaches the Comanches, and about 20 of them boldly encircle him. A few minutes drag by while the hot, still air fairly crackles with tension. The Indians mutter phrases in Spanish that the man does not understand, but he must sense that he is going to die. Several Comanches attempt to spook the stranger's horse. Then one warrior darts out a hand to snatch at the white man's gun. Instantly the rifle belches forth a lead ball, spilling the Indian from his saddle. As other Comanches quickly close in, the white man drops his rifle and reaches for one of the heavy holstered pistols, but it is too late. A second shot rings out, this time from a Comanche's flintlock gun. The white man's upper body jerks, and he starts to slump from his horse. Long Comanche lances are thrust into him, and he is dead. The Indians methodically sift through the man's belongings. Taking such gear as might be useful, they mount their ponies and move on, leaving the corpse where it lies, never to be found. In brazen silence, the afternoon sun crawls toward the horizon, its raking beams illuminating the lifeless body of Jedediah Smith, aged 32 years. The principal eyewitnesses to Smith's murder were the Comanches who killed him, and they never offered an account of the event. Still, the Comancheros almost certainly observed Smith's murder from a distance. Smith's companions searched in vain for 2 days to recover his body, and if the Comancheros had been discovered, they probably could have led Smith's companions to the site of the murder. Smith's fellow travelers learned nothing of his fate until after they arrived at Santa Fe a few weeks later. This recreation of an explosive instant of violence that ended the brief life of one of North America's greatest explorers is speculative, but it is not merely imaginary. It is based on a few skimpy reports provided by Smith's companions shortly after his death. Scanty though it may be, the documentation of the circumstances of Jedediah Smith's death offers more detail than has been discovered in the records concerning his first 10 years of life. Indeed, the final third of Smith's life is relatively well documented, but so slim is the record of his first 20 years that any summary of it necessitates a good deal of conjecture and inference.